Have Aaron fire up the web.
Yep.
That's what I thought, but that's what I meant.
Right.
Everyone, welcome to our committee meeting for Monday, April 18th. We're going to start off tonight with a special Public Works Committee meeting. I call the Public Works Committee meeting to order at 6 p.m. We've got 5 proposed action items. Establishing a capital project number 126 Catskill Recycling Center.
George.
Rivera. George Rivera, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Awarding electrical contract for Catskill Recycling Center construction project. Handle.
George.
Handle Gillich, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Awarding general contract for Catskill Recycling Center construction project. Hobart.
Handle.
Hobart, Handle, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Just a quick question for you guys. The dollar amount, is that include the equipment that we need to do? Factored into the overall budget?
Which equipment?
A loader,
The loader, or is that included in the?
you're moving the loader in and out from the,
Right, no, you're not,
Yeah.
you're gonna, not like
not at this point,
Kosaki or Hunter?
correct. It's
Okay,
not,
it will be,
the loader would move from building to building at this point.
okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Number 4, authorizing expansion of services. Jerson Construction Group, Kosaki Transfer Station, Reconstruction.
Martinez.
Hobart. Martinez and Hobart, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Authorizing architectural and engineer design services for the construction of Justice Center addition to the Greene County Courthouse.
Rivera.
Handle.
Rivera and Handle, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Jim, again, for Sean, the percentage, they came down from their initial estimate?
Yes, quite a bit.
Right, okay.
There's a difference between the two finalists. It's not extreme. When Warren and I did the final interviews, it really wasn't an issue of their qualifications or their ability to do the job. It really had to do with our understanding of their payment system. The wild card there is their out-of-pocket expenses. It's not specifically for their individual services, but sometimes they go out. What was the list of those, Warren, we had that are typically, both of them had?
All of the permits, the commissioning, all of the soft costs, travel expenses,
Right.
other expenses.
So we really had to narrow that down so we didn't have any confusion on it. So when we tried to get that best estimate, then we tallied everything down. And the vendor being recommended that at your original interview had the highest rate, but appeared to have the most significance to the historical significance of the area and had the best depiction of the reuse of the old stone, now has come down considerably.
So when this takes place and this is awarded to this firm, when do they meet with, whether it's you or Warren or this board on the actual thought process of what we want? Whether it's an open floor plan where if it doesn't work out for something, we can easily remove walls and it.
Almost immediately. That's really, you have to set that bar before we start taking a pencil to paper.
Right.
That, and that's what Warren is now working on. Type of design, type of equipment to be used, full panel walls, concrete, flooring, all that type of steel. That stuff has to be up front as well, because then those decisions really dictate much of the other design.
Gotcha.
So we'll be right up front.
Just a comment, LTRW told Sean and I that there was a lot of pre-thought and work that went into our RFQ. Many communities look for an architect. They have not developed anywhere near the amount of work that we had put in to make sure that we got a qualified architect. So we were pleased to hear that, and they're ready to jump right into the programming and concept phase to get right down to the core of what we want and working with Office of Court Administration.
And hoping we get as good a response for bidders as we did for that RFQ.
Yeah,
We had very good response to that.
13.
11.
Before we close. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We're closed.
Are you running out of here?
Gee,
You didn't want to be asking any more questions.
Easy on
Ready? I'd like to open Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting at 6:05. We have with us April Ernst, the Executive Director of the Greene County IDA, to give us a brief update on what they're doing. How she's feeling.
Feeling great. Just a little, okay. Okay. So for those who don't know me, I'm April Ernst. I'm with the Greene County Industrial Development Agency. I am the current executive director. I report to these 7 board members. I posted our mission statement there for you. For those who don't know what an IDA does, we can offer incentives like sales tax exemption, mortgage tax exemption, and pilots to encourage companies to come build in Greene County or to retain them, encourage them to stay here. So in my presentation, I'm just going to go over 3 major things that we do: the pilots, our projects, and then parks. The 3 projects that I have listed here in the middle are the Carroll Water Sewer Extension, Exit 21 East and West. I just want to highlight these because these are the collaboration between the county and the IDA, those 3 projects. Okay, jumping right into our current pilots. We have 9 current pilots in the black bulleted area. For 2022, these 9 pilots generated over $1.1 million in payments to just the county. And then there's other things that I do. I track material terms, so jobs, local spending, charity contributions, gross payroll. 3 of these pilots will be ending in 2023. Athens Gen, Northeast Treaters, and Wyndham Partners. Those will be going back on the tax rolls in 2023. So our upcoming pilots, we have 4 pilots starting in 2023. The top 4: Empire Riverfront, 3 Point, Camptown, Wilder Wyndham. I listed what the current investment is going into these projects. And then the bottom 2, Champlain Hudson Power Express. That one, the state just finally approved it. That is a 339-mile transmission line that's going to run from Quebec to New York City. 25 miles runs through Greene County, and their investment is $177 million. The county will see about $16 million over the 30-year pilot period. They do have a 3-year construction period, so it'll be once that construction period completes. And for Flint Mine, I'm still working on the finding statement, which everything gets posted to our website, so you'll be able to view that as soon as I get it done. Flint Mine is 100 megawatt solar voltaic facility, and that's going to be in Athens and Kosaki.
The $177 million investment.
That's to build it just in Greene County.
That's just Greene County.
That's just
That's not the whole.
Yeah, I can get you the numbers for that.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to.
Yep, just in Greene County. It runs through about 8 jurisdictions. And that finding statement is on the website also. So jumping into parks, currently we have Greene Business and Technology Park, Culver, Fountain Flats. There is Potage also, which Peckham is in. And then we have upcoming Exit 21 West and 21 East. I listed some budget expenses for this coming year. So the IDA has invested over $22 million in business parks. As we sell land in the business parks, we invest it back into our parks account. In the bulleted areas in the black on the bottom, over the years, like in 2002, Greene Business received $3.2 million in grants, and it's slowly gone down over the years. I did sign up for updates. I've been talking with Warren about Fast New York. The state put in the budget $200 million for a shovel-ready investment. So we'll see if we can get any of that money for the Exit 21 West and 21 East. So as you can see, over the years, we've gone from getting land all shovel-ready, now we manage it. So for Greene Business and Culver, we do things like mowing, lighting, picking up litter. Fountain Flats and Potage are self-contained. Fountain Flats is where Ferguson is located. They bought out the whole park, so. That's, and Fountain Flats and Peckham are still both under pilots. So this is Greene Business and Technology Park. This fronts right on 9W. Save-A-Lot and Soflini Pasta and the Baker Greene County are our current tenants. Hunter Motor Coach bought the land right behind where the Gillespie building is, where Soflini Pasta is. Exciting news, the front yellow portions, they were purchased in 2005 but never developed. They are now under contract with a new developer, so we hope to see some shovels in the ground there, maybe this summer. And then the blue, the darker blue, 27 acres, there's a draft option out there for the 27 acres. That leaves us with just 1.7 acres right in front of Save-A-Lot that's available. And I did highlight the amount we spent, how many acres are left, and then the company investments. So Save-A-Lot invested $18 million. They are fully on the tax rolls now. They went on the tax rolls in 2019. And then Gillespie built where Soflini Pasta is leasing now. This is
under a pilot.
which one? Save-A-Lot went on.
That's still common, yes.
Right, but they never had a pilot. So they built their building, and then Ducami was in there, and then when they vacated, Soflini Pasta runs it now, and they pay 100% taxes. So this is Culver Commerce Park, further north on 9W. We have Serta and Empire Merchants North. The front yellow pieces are available. I do have an option agreement out right now for the 14.37 acres. Empire Merchants spent 27 million and Serta spent 11 million, or invested 11 million in their building. They are both still on the pilot program. So this is one of our collaborations. We have Exit 21. This is our hotel land. This is where the Quality Inn used to be. When we did get ownership of the land, we demolished the building. We are waiting on final deed from the thruway any day now. The agreement's been signed. Stewart's is ready to move over. And I did put another bullet here for $349,000. We have earmarked for the tourism center. We have another $120,000 pending. So within our pilot programs, any tourism pilot, and maybe the last 4 or 5 years, we negotiated a portion of their sales tax exemption, whatever they saved, to be paid back towards moving the tourism center.
Where's Stewart's going in relation to
Stewart's
that?
is going
Right across
towards
the
the
street.
front.
Yeah, I know, but where?
Where the tourism.
So where the tourism center is, I don't know if you see it.
Trees.
Over here.
No.
No?
Come down by the entranceway to the right. See the cars parked there right in the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just see it.
okay, right there, okay.
So the tourism center, that one will be demolished, Stewart's will go there. And then we have the money to renovate the old Stewart's, which is part of the negotiation of getting that building. Then we have exit 21 West. The front portion is where we're looking to putting the medical facility, Columbia Memorial. And then the back, 60 acres, it is kind of tiered. We're looking at doing some housing possibly back there. And then this is what you approved at the last meeting, where we're going to be using ARPA funds, 1.6 million to extend the natural gas. We're still figuring out the survey, the final survey, and then we'll be able to give you available acres on this parcel. Something I didn't put here, there is like a little garage at the very end, the little white dot here. This is under option with the company to purchase this little corner. It'll be a gateway into the medical facility.
Has the hospital signed contract yet?
They signed an option agreement. We're still working it out. I think we have another meeting coming up this week where we can talk about pads, the site plan, things like that. Carroll Water Sewer Extension. We did have a kickoff meeting, so I made little checks there. We signed the agreement. I have another meeting this Thursday with Delaware Engineering where we can start working on the engineering and the RFP to send out for bids. Another collaboration. So this is another $875,000 from the county for ARPA funds to extend this water and sewer. So this is a private-public partnership also with Schneider. So he spent money on getting the cut-in for the road. And this is how you contact me. I know I throw a lot of information out there, so if you have any questions, or if you want to just email me or call me. Good.
Well, I have some questions. You guys, the history of the IDA when this first started, it was for industrial development, which meant jobs. You had job requirement. And somehow over the last few years, it's kind of gotten off that path and we're giving pilots to solar projects,
Well, it's not just,
power projects.
we do material terms. So the Industrial Development Agency can base it on investment, community support, what it's giving back to the community. Do we need other jobs like those industrial development jobs? So like I put on the first slide, there was 790 jobs that were reported in 2021. So we still focus on some jobs, but there's other material terms that we use.
When did that change? Because I remember there was
I think it changed
specifically
sometime during an economic downturn. So we report to the state that, for example, Empire Merchants has 319 jobs, but we agreed on their paperwork that they would have 350. But it's no fault of theirs, that we had an economic downturn and coronavirus shut them down.
Right.
So, all of our pilot projects are actually in the hiring mode right now. They have bonuses that they're trying to offer. Empire Merchants had a sign out that they were doing $5,000 sign-on bonuses for truck drivers. It's just really hard for them to just focus just on jobs.
Okay, so again, though, Empire Merchants is jobs. What's Flint Mine Solar? What's these other solar facilities?
Flint Mine Solar is going to be over 200 million in investment.
Well, that's fine, but that investment, they're going to be making money on the sale of the power. So there's no jobs created.
Most companies
There's
coming
no,
into Greene County are going to be making money on whatever their final product is.
Well, the ones on solar though comes out of real property tax law. The legislature, no, it's not allowed that to happen.
This one came through,
Not our legislature.
a utility, right, the state legislature.
The state
Came
is
through the
saying
state.
we need solar.
so, but does the state say we need to give them a pilot agreement?
Yes.
The state says that.
No, actually,
Well,
we
it's
say whether we require a pilot.
Article 10, is it?
Yes. So they were approved by the state because they're 100 megawatt. Smaller ones can come through 487.
Right.
Right.
And if we don't require a pilot, they are tax exempt. Automatic.
So solar farm would be tax exempt. The solar field array would be considered tax exempt,
Yes.
the state.
Was that 487?
And it's because they're a not-for-profit?
No, they're definitely for profit.
Right. Yeah, right.
Two different things you're discussing here. IDA is independent of the real property tax law 487 exemption. The IDA can offer longer term to their pilots. They're negotiated independently with the firms. 487 is a real property tax exemption that this county has not opted out of. So it's there in place. The only qualification to that is upon notice from the company or developer that we have within 60 days to notice them whether we desire to negotiate a pilot or not. If we don't negotiate a pilot, they're exempt for 15. So the only way to recoup any of our tax dollars for county schools is to negotiate.
So if we didn't allow this exemption, maybe these solar fields wouldn't be coming here? But we
The
just-
issue with that we've raised in front of this body is that there's no way to opt out of just commercial or industrial solar. You have to opt out in its entirety out of the exemption, so it affects all residential and small business. Solar also. So right now, I'll use town of Kosaki example. They're putting for a residential solar system between 15 and 25,000 on. Person, the resident applies for an exemption. That increase in value is exempted for 15 years. If not, the assessor they're the only ones with the authority to value, and they could value and increase somebody's assessment for that increased value.
April, on the other end of things on that mission statement, we went from the IDA developing property to then somehow being involved in private property and negotiating with them for a pilot program. When was that allowed with?
There are no private pilots. So the last one with the Carroll Water and Sewer, there is a private owner involved, but he is developing his land and investing money in that parcel. But we are only spending money on the infrastructure.
What about Empire Riverfront Ventures?
That is a company, an LLC. But all of our companies, Save-A-Lot, Serta, Empire Merchants North, those are all privately owned. They invest their money. So
No, what I'm saying is you own the site, you developed the site,
Oh.
sold it to a developer who then
Right,
had
but
Save-A-Lot.
we
go
didn't
there.
develop GSK or Athens Gen Land. Those were not shovel-ready sites. Those were just, we were trying to get companies to come build in Greene County. So we did a pilot and we wanted GSK to stay when they sold from Steeple to GSK. So we offered them a pilot to keep them there, to keep 300 jobs, retain 300 jobs
Right.
in Durham. So we had nothing to do with the development of that land. That was just a pilot with GSK.
Okay.
They went back on the tax rolls a year and a half ago, in 2021.
Was there ever any work involved with the IDA to try to keep our cement plants in operation?
I'm not sure. Before my time, I'm not sure. I know that there are several interested parties in one of the cement plants, but it's, in negotiations, talking with that landowners.
Well, that was gonna be a question that I had as well in the past. Your predecessor didn't want to talk about small properties, but the 9W is a major traveled road. And you have the old Walgreens property, you have the old Condor property near Price Chopper.
So two things that I'm looking at now. We have a survey.
Right, I apologize.
I created a survey. I was working with Terry Weiss and the chamber, Pam, maybe to send out to the legislators, town supervisors, so that we can get like an inventory of those properties. So when we do get calls from the state saying, hey, you have an empty building, this size, these specs, we can just pull it from a database. It is in the works. I could probably send out a draft this week if you want to look at
I
it.
just think it's a commercial area and it sits idle, and
The
to have the
problem is-
IDA look into that type of investment, as well as what Mike was talking about further down on the 9W. I mean, that's riverfront property that's sitting idle that the cement plant's owned. And
Like I said, we might have some talks going on. It's just the owner of the property who might not be interested in talking and negotiating. As far as small businesses go, we have an economic development department that works with small businesses, the EDC. Currently, I am the only staff member. Yes, I have been with the IDA for 20 years, but we're spread a little thin. Right now, I'm working on finishing up the shovel-ready parks, selling those land, working on the projects that we are working on. And it might not be cost-inducive for those small businesses, just, I want to say legal, because, they pay their legal bills. So how much money are they saving? The only time we've done small businesses when we had the floods up at the mountaintop, we pushed through paperwork with the state to do sales tax exemptions for all of their building supplies. I want to say we did about 30 projects that year, but they were just focused on sales tax.
so those two pieces of property on the 9W are being looked at by the IDA.
I'm sorry, which properties on
The former Rite Aid property in Condor.
We're aware of it. I don't have anybody interested in it. If I do, I either find out who the realtor is, match it up.
Okay.
It actually, a dispensary, I set somebody that way, but I think it's too big.
April, do you have any idea how many businesses in Greene County get any pilot program and pay full shots on their taxes?
I do not know that number.
There's a lot of them. A lot of them.
Right, but you're also looking at these larger parks and businesses that we did the pilots with and have developed those numbers. And I can get you the numbers of the ones that are already off pilots.
Well, I understand the large warehousing jobs with,
Right.
300 jobs here, but you've got a lot of smaller pilot programs going in place here.
What do we have? Oh, sorry, Mike.
I just don't,
And it was
I don't see
justified
how
by
it's-
their investment, their increased assessment to the tax base. So that'll be additional revenue coming in. So Wilder, Wyndham, I want to say they're investing 20 million. So that's also part of our tourism program. We're Camptown, Wilder, Wyndham, those are rooms that we can rent out. So there was different reasons. All of our finding statements are on our website too. They're pretty in-depth of our justification for giving out pilots. Cost benefit analysis is in there, what they would be paying if there was no build at all compared to pilot, compared to 100%.
With that, do you have an idea, do you require through the IDA when there's these projects going on, how much public money is involved in some of these projects? I know there's quite a bit of public money that went into the venture on Kosaki, the riverfront ventures.
I have probably in the finding statement what he got for, you mean for grants from the state?
Grants, yeah, it was a significant amount,
That's not what we base our incentives on for him.
no? So he may get public money to build a venture,
Mhm.
okay? And then this venture is then assessed at a certain value,
Correct.
okay? You might receive a pilot project program, a pilot payment program. All right, but then he's free to also sell that project if he not, that company.
Okay, so if he sells it, then that new company would have to approach the IDA to see if we could continue on the pilot or we would just end the pilot. So for example, when Ducommon was in the building that Gillespie built, for the first 10 years, I believe they were in Empire Zone. So we didn't start the pilot. When they vacated the premises, their pilot expired. It didn't follow them to a new building.
Okay.
So we do case-by-case basis for each project.
April, how many applications for pilots do you have in the chute now?
There are no open, well, Flip Mine Solar is an open application. We haven't completed the finding statement. We have to do a public hearing. We are still negotiating the pilot. We hired a solar valuation company to look at those numbers because it's a very large solar voltaic facility. So what I'll do once I get the numbers from the appraiser, the valuation company, is I compare it to if there was no built, like what is the vacant land worth? So I take all the properties that are involved and then I compare it to a pilot compared to.
Right, a
the
cost
status.
analysis to say, okay, this is what you're gonna get. I get all that. I was just wondering if there was any other businesses.
I sort of was expecting an application from Hecate, which is another solar company, but I haven't seen it yet. Other than that, I don't have any other applications in the work.
Anybody else have questions?
Sure.
Thank you very much, April. Appreciate it. And we have Warren Hart here for his presentation.
Good evening. Okay. All right, New York State has a special program in the finance program. It's called the Open CPACE program. PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. The state's program allows for financing for commercial property owners to make energy upgrades to their buildings. PACE financing is available through a corporation that administers it. It's called the Energy Improvement Corporation. And EIC is a not-for-profit corporation, local development corporation that was authorized by New York State to assist with the administration of this program. The program has been around for quite a while, but it was revamped in 2019. We've looked at it a couple times over the years and had objections to some of the elements of the program. Namely, the first program had a requirement that the counties would do the billing and remittance of the loans that this corporation makes to our Greene County businesses. Most counties objected to that and didn't sign up for the program. Recently, we've had 4 Greene County companies interested in the program. And I think we're gonna start seeing more and more as the state is requiring additional upgrades and improvement to renewable energies. Our businesses are making investment in our resorts, and it's very expensive for them to do energy upgrades and improvements. They have to meet the New York State building code and energy code. To date, the EIC has member municipalities across the state, and since they launched the program, there's been 23 counties and 19 cities that have opted in. They've done about 14 or 15 commercial financing deals so far. It's starting to grow because most counties didn't participate. So we've been asked by a resort owner to consider joining this program. The way we would join the program is by passing a local law. It's a model local law. It's the same local law that every county passes. And then we would enter into an agreement with this local development corporation called EIC. EIC is this corporation that provides assistance to these municipalities. They have to apply to NYSERDA to get an energy audit done on their building. EIC helps them find financing from pre-authorized lenders that give lending to energy improvement projects. So they kind of put this deal together on behalf of our businesses to make application for this funding. The corporation does all of that. We don't give the loans, we don't guarantee the loans. We authorize this program under the New York State program. This is a unique and kind of different financing than a traditional commercial loan with a mortgage. The state has set this program up where the guarantee for payment on the loan from this bank is through something called a benefit assessment lien. So there's a lien that goes on the property. Our interest or in taxes, should we ever have to move on that project, our taxes are superior to the lien on this benefit assessment lien. The way this program works is the lien is then superior to the other banks that have financing into a property owner's property. It's very unique. Haven't seen this before. We do our revolving loan program through our corporation. We're very used to, what position and what our collateral is, but this is a very special program that the state has authorized. So we're being asked by our companies to consider joining this program so that they could benefit from this commercial financing at lower rates, more favorable terms. They don't have to put a lot of money up front because the state is trying to incentivize businesses to make these energy improvements to their business. I threw a lot at you. There's a lot to this program, so I'm sure you'll have questions. But we would have to, if we're going to move forward, we would have to do an introductory local law, hold the public hearing, and then decide whether we're going to adopt the local law.
What does this do to the local financial banks around here? It sounds to me like a state bamboozlement, I guess you call it. I mean, it's like, hey, they're holding the whole show. They're going to finance it. They're going to give you a lower rate.
Yep.
Renewable energy upgrades. I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's a whole agenda on their own rather than in this one group. Why can't they ask the local places the cost of doing business rather than getting a discounted rate? Everybody, I mean, to me, it just sounds like the state is,
So
they're going to use
there-
their own financing, offer their own program.
So it's commercial lending.
And it's
from
only if the
banks.
county signs up for this, correct? So
Yes.
you're just opening the floodgates to let the state come in and offer up to these companies. Whereas, I mean, what's next?
So
I
these
guess
are-
you get
so
a
these-
pilot with it too, right,
So
Warren?
these are private lenders.
Yeah, they are.
Private lenders that specialize with companies on energy improvement. But you are correct, in the lending requirement, the criteria, if an owner of a business goes through the EIC lines them up with a private bank that would give lending.
So why does
If
the private?
that owner also has a mortgage with or debt from another bank, that bank has to agree that they will take a lower position, that the energy financing will be superior. And the reason behind that is the lien on the property stays with the property. So if someone makes improvements 3 years later, and they take advantage of this program, 3 years later, they decide to sell their resort, that lien on that property and that loan with that commercial lender, the new owner buys into that and owns that lien and that loan. So it's very different, but it's set up intentionally to allow businesses to access.
So why
financing to
doesn't
make
the
energy
business
improvements.
offer up to these private investors a percentage of their own company and take a gamble rather than relying on subsidized money or private money coming through that obviously it's being made advantageous, it's by the state.
Well,
Yeah, the state's
by
pushing-
Right.
It's
I
pushing
mean,
the
it's,
program to meet their 2035 energy consumption.
it's absurd. I mean, this isn't capitalism. This is more along the socialistic ideas being promoted by the state to push it on to help out other people rather than, putting your
Well,
nose to the
it-
grindstone and working and making your business succeed.
It is a special program. It's a little different, but the financing
different.
is with a commercial lender.
But the money's supposed to be used as an upgrade, like Sean says, to promote the states. You're not gonna get this money for anything other than
Right.
green energy.
Yeah,
This
this
could be
what it's all
windows, this
about.
could be insulation, it could be, it has to be focused to green energy.
It's not like you're gonna get money to put an addition on or anything.
So I hear your issues. They're not necessarily our issues in terms of the program itself. Our interest is, we want it, if businesses need business assistance, we're not spending our time, we're not giving the loans, we're authorizing this program. Whether the banks like this, whether there's 0 loans or 20 loans, that's not what we're looking at. That's a private property owner going after commercial lending, but under these special terms.
So the people that are asking us to sign on to this program, are they aware that their lender has to agree to be the number one payback? And they think that that'll fly.
It depends on, like anything
I mean,
else.
do they think they're gonna get financed?
If a
Lower percentage.
early in on a deal, if all the lenders are at the table at the same time and understand everybody's position and they make sure they're comfortable, it's easier to do that than if you already have your financing in place and you're coming later and then you're wanting the banks to subordinate to that. And a lot of it has to do with the size of the commercial banks. If it's a big commercial bank and it's one of these large lenders for energy improvements, they're more likely to be on board with that than maybe some of our local lenders.
How many other counties have passed this so far?
23.
23?
Was it 23?
Any local counties?
Ulster, Albany, and Columbia. There's only been one deal done so far in Ulster, none in Columbia, but it was 2019 when the program was revamped. So now there's a lot more interest in it.
The thing that gets me is if you apply, the state is going to put you in contact with financial institutions for the best rate. If I understood you correctly.
Correct.
Where's the list of financial investors? Who are they? No different than we have professional services. We have a list of who has everything in order to go. If they show us what the financial investors are in order to get in this program, so that way you make sure everybody gets a stake at the table,
Right, well, I
seems a lot of
did
it is.
do some research and I went online and I looked at the banks that provide this. And you can see who their board members are, what projects they fund. These are some very big banks and they have very big projects. The difference is we're not doing the underwriting for the loan. That's all of the private side. We're not guaranteeing it. We're not underwriting it. We're not part of it.
So
We
what's
don't,
the risk
we don't
for
do
us? What's the risk for the county?
We don't guarantee the loans. We would in a foreclosure on a property. If that took place, but these are some very large projects. Or if we had to take it for lack of taxes, our position is senior. But the program is so new, we don't know where it's gonna go, how it might flesh out in court. But it's more likely that the companies that have these loans, they're gonna pay the back taxes, they're gonna step in and foreclose because they have a much larger figure to lose.
So there's really not a risk to the county in allowing these to happen other than a foreclosure?
Not from a business risk standpoint, but we do take a haircut on tax, on the value of the loan. we do have skin in the game here that we wouldn't normally lose without this program. But you could argue that if they didn't have the energy financing, they would get if they have the proper test evaluation, would they get the financing through their normal bank for the improvements? If you're gonna buy that old resort that needs updating from the 50s to now, would you have done this level of renovation to your project without this incentive? Or would you open it up and done other improvements? Because the windows are still windows, they still work, they're just not energy efficient.
In this case, the program is designed not to pay for filing fees and mortgage because it's an incentive to make energy upgrades. So there would be the equivalent loss of mortgage recording tax. If that program wasn't there, in theory, they would go get a commercial loan and there would be mortgage recording. Now, he asked about pilots. One of the projects that's well underway has a pilot with the IDA. So a very large projects are likely to already have a pilot. So the sales tax or sales and mortgage tax exemption would have already taken place. So there wouldn't really be anything here. But a small project that doesn't get a pilot that participates and qualifies, we wouldn't be collecting the mortgage recording tax on it.
Are state taxpayers funding these commercial lending institutions for the lower rate? Are they making up the difference?
I don't know. I know they are commercial lenders, so I would guess no, but Mike, I wouldn't know.
So commercial lenders, they have board, they have shareholders. What shareholder would be happy with a bank giving out lower interest rates? And then them getting a lower rate of return? What?
That's what I'm saying. It'll be subsidized by the
It'll be
state somehow.
subsidized. The water's muddy here on exactly what's gonna take place in order for them to push towards their goal of clean energy or
Like Sean said, it boils down to, would you have done this level of improvement if you didn't have this available?
Well, you probably would if solar or whatever these renewables weren't so expensive to put in.
It paid for itself.
If it paid for itself, who wouldn't invest in it?
And this
That's
is
part
only,
of your cost of doing business. that
this
you
is only
plan.
one program. There's a lot of other grants and grant loan programs that run through the REDC and the CFAs for energy improvements. I don't think the state of New York is done with incentivizing renewable energy projects. So this is one program that our businesses are asking for us to support.
But it's not a grant, it's a straight
No,
out loan.
Correct.
So you pay it back no matter
Yep.
what kind of.
Correct. At a reduced rate, than prime. That's the incentive. The incentive is that the borrowing cost to you is cheaper than a straight up loan.
Yeah, the use is very specific.
And the use, yes, it has to be for energy efficiency. You can't asphalt the driveway, you can't do anything else.
You weren't.
Thanks, Warren.
Thanks, Warren,
Thanks, Warren.
for confusing everybody.
They got money in with that.
Ray?
That's under mine.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's his.
Claiming red.
Oh, I was, my bad. Stay tuned.
All righty, we'll move on into proposed action items. We have one tonight, authorizing agreement and grant application for the Big Valley Trailbreakers Snowmobile Club, snowmobile trail development and maintenance for 2022, 2023.
Lennon.
One second.
Lennon
Leonard Thornton, yeah.
and Thornton. All of All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. We have one informational item. It's the Greene County Planning Board, February 16th, 22 meeting minutes. And if there's nothing else to come before the committee, I will ask for someone to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Bloomer and Handle? Okay, we're adjourned.
We abstain back here. We abstain.
Ooh.
Okay. I want to open deliberations at 6:49. First thing we have is Ray Ward, Director of Real Property Tax Services, to discuss solar field pilot payments.
Not again like that, I gotta follow tomorrow.
Here we go.
It couldn't pick a worse night. Hopefully I got some bright news out of this, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, myself and the county attorney Ed have been working on a solar energy system pilot law, a local law that we would like you to consider about introducing. We started negotiating pilots, as you recall, back in 2017. We were first noticed, and at that time, NYSERDA's recommendation was to pay 3% or negotiate pilots at roughly 3% of the revenue generated by the energy created by the facility. We were able to negotiate pilot payments upwards of 3.5%. And in addition to that, a community host agreement, which escalated it even further up to above 3.5%. So since 2017, we've been noticed on 20 projects. There's currently, we are aware of roughly 26 projects going on around the county. 4 have completed negotiations with the county, and we've gone to signature on their pilot agreements as brought in front of you. 4 projects are currently either have been or are under, may be negotiated with the IDA under our understanding. And currently we have 7 projects that are in various stages of negotiations. And when I say various stages, I mean, we've already been on the phone, the Zoom call, or an in-person meet. And what we're finding is there's been a change in the landscape to solar and renewables as a whole, but I'm going to speak specifically to solar tonight in the last 2 years. And that really going back 4 years. The first thing that happened was in 2018, the state passed the Value of Distributed Energy Resources, or the VEDR. And with that comes the VEDR stack. That changed the way that these solar developers receive, or any utility developer received their money, and seriously cut their revenues. And the first one, Darrell will remember it, that brought it to our attention was the company that was proposing in Hunter. He was the first one that cried foul. I can't afford to do this anymore because the state has introduced, the PSC has introduced the VEDR stack. So with that, we recognized it, but we still pushed ahead, and we were able to negotiate more pilots at 8,000 a megawatt and a 22.5 host agreement. Subsequently, last year in the state budget, the 21 budget, 21-22 budget for the state, legislation was passed that created Real Property Tax Law Section 575-B, which stated that the Department of Tax and Finance was obligated to create or formulate a discount rate and a discounted cash flow model for valuing solar projects and wind. They had 6 months to do it. They had to put it out there for a 60-day comment period. To make the long story short, in August of 21, the preliminary model comes out. My counterparts and appraisers across the state looked at it and were very happy. We're like, this is right in line with what we're all doing. 60 days go by and we get the final model from the state, and everything, the whole landscape changed. They reduced values upwards of 70% of what we felt and appraisers across the state felt that projects were worth. So myself, Sean, Ed, in conjunction with NYSAC, the New York State Association of Counties, started with NYSERDA and subsequently with NYSERDA through to DTF and became the champions to get this model changed. They finally admitted, after we pointed out some glaring errors in the model, even though they wouldn't unlock the formulas for us to look at, And they came out with the final model on January 6th of this year. Granted, they raised the values a little bit, but they didn't get anywhere near where we were in valuation, to the tune of roughly 33 to 50% less in valuation than what we felt these parcels or these projects were worth. So with those two things combined, our new 7 projects that are coming to us and asking, they are all coming with seriously low pilot terms that they're looking for, to the tune of 3,000 to 5,000 a megawatt. I have one that's company that handles is doing 4 projects in New Baltimore, and it took us, 6 weeks to get them to acquiesce to the 8,000 a megawatt. And I think they only did it because they want to get to construction. One of their projects is already built. And so the guy has been, like I said, reluctant, to the point downright nasty to me on the calls that I've had. I've tried to justify things with him as to why we are. So with those 4 projects out of the 7, it appears we're going to be successful at the 8,000. But they may pull back and say, well, we're not going to do a community host because you now eaten all our money up in the pilot. I don't know. Well, that's to be negotiated down the line. So as I said, in our opinion, the developers, by virtue of the state of New York passing this legislation, are seeing a 50% reduction in value. And thus, after the 15 years of a 487 pilot, the 487 is the alternative energy exemption allowed under real property tax law. For the rest of the life of the project, they're going to see values that are at least 50%, and most likely because it's a discounted cash flow model, which there's basically three ways to appraise real property in New York. You have the market approach, which is most common. You sell your house and you derive a market from what the market is doing. You have the capital income approach, which is how most businesses and apartments are valued. And then you have the direct cost approach, less depreciation. Although discounted cash flow model is an accepted appraisal technique, it's really taking and looking at net present value by adding up all your income and expenses over a certain term. The state model is 25 years. And you basically say that we're going to take that, we're going to discount it. Right now, the discount rate is 0.8 something, I want to say, is the state's discount rate this year. They have to create a discount rate every year. It just totally has flattened what these projects are worth, and to the detriment of our taxpayers. So as I brought before this board before, we talked about the possibility of opting out of 487, but we're going to hurt our residences out there. Currently, our assessors around the county are kind of a hodgepodge. Some are valuing, some aren't valuing them, but that exemption is there. If we opt out, that exemption goes away. And so you're going to discourage renewable energy being done by the residential or small commercial customer. So there is the option out there to create a local law to set the rate for pilots. Now, NYSERDA has pulled down all their guidance that says 3% of revenue generated by the electricity. They pulled that all down. So they're offering no guidance on pilots as far as I'm concerned. So what I've spent the last 4 to 6 weeks doing is trying to back into our pilot payment into assess that or value of a solar field. And that's how we were able to successfully get back to this 8,000 a megawatt for this company. Was I believe I successfully said, had you not had the 50% exemption from the state, you would have been paying this in taxes, and we would have negotiated a pilot of this. So there is the ability to adopt a local law. Ed and I have kind of drafted and reworked the model that NYSERDA put out there for us. And basically what we've said is we believe we should ask for 87.50 a megawatt. Let's take the community host agreement right out of it. Let's capture it throughout the life of the pilot rather than 22,000 up front that may go to a school or a town. And also protect the residential solar customer. So what the model local law that we've drafted, or the solar pilot law that we've drafted, would require a pilot of 87.50 a megawatt for anything above 50 kilowatts. To give it an example, a typical home residential system is 10 kilowatts. Okay, so we're not going to hurt our residences. They're not going to be required to enter into a pilot. And they're still exempt because we're not opting out of 487. So what I'm here before was to explain to you what's happened and suggest that we go and do the whole routine and do a public hearing and pass this local law setting a rate of 87.50 a megawatt.
Let's put it on record. Here's what our fee is. For a pilot.
There's no negotiation.
Now there's no negotiation.
Negotiation goes out.
Negotiable. What's the project worth? Here's what the pilot is.
The work doesn't even come into play. We just need to know size.
Oh, per megawatt.
We just need to know size. The only caveat to this is we're only passing a local law for the county. So I've already spoken to 1 or 2 towns, 1 school district out of our 10 school districts. We have 1 school district that has opted out of the exemption years ago, and their county last year opted out totally out of the exemption also. So they're in agreement with what I'm saying. I've been a proponent of this for months now across this state. I get calls from other IDAs, from other county directors, from assessors across the state, because I've been in a number of seminars and classes trying to understand this model. And it seems like I have the best handle on it from my standpoint, from a real property standpoint of view, to the point that one of the main appraisers of renewables in New York State is calling me and asking me questions. So we would definitely do, some communication with our schools and towns, get the school districts to adopt it by resolution, the towns to do it by local law. If they don't, they're going to be off on their own. And the way Ed and I have changed some language, and we would only be getting our share of that 87.50. It's not the county getting 87.50. That's the pot of money for the county town school. But we would only, if it's a town, let's say that we have Catskill School and Greene County say yes and do a local law or resolution, but the town of Catskill does not. Well, they're off negotiating on their own, but ours is cast in stone and we get our share of 87.50.
Just to add to it, it takes a tremendous amount of work off Ray's desk. We know where we're going, a lot of work off my desk. We know at the end of the day, it's 87.50. What Ray has done with the NYSERDA calculator, to me is very impressive because they blocked out significant portions of the model for valuation purposes, but he's managed to back into a lot of it to figure out exactly what it is that the state has been doing to discount the cash flow rate.
Yeah, what should have been simple negotiations as they were back in 2017 and 18 have now become a main struggle and a lot of time.
Yeah.
And these companies are still making the same amount of money. It's just the way that they're receiving the money.
But are they making the same amount of money because their tax payments are lower?
No.
They want to make more money with local.
Right. They've reduced the way their income is coming in from the electric companies.
So
it has to do with basically the meter stack has set and there's called tranches. It gets really complicated. I get stacks and stacks.
right. So if we said we're not giving any pilots, it's being assessed, no solar companies would come to it because they couldn't make money here.
But with that, You're canceling any residential development.
The residents wouldn't get it either.
On my house.
So the resident though, is a resident paying the full shot to put solar in, or are they receiving?
They have the option, they can apply for the exemption and they get the exemption also.
Yeah, but do they get rebates for doing renewable energy?
Depends on how they're doing it with their company that's doing it.
Yeah, most of them, well, mine in particular was about 40%.
Once you get tax breaks.
State and federal
Incentives.
incentives.
Question? So next steps, come back next month.
If your local law is going to go, then we would need a motion to set a public hearing. This is gonna go on for, for a month or two before we could actually.
Oh, and let me add a caveat, anything that we've already been noticed on, the way we're allowed in real property tax law 487 to do this law, we would have had to pass it within 60 days of something that we've already been put notice on. Luckily, we have not been put on notice for anything other than one project, and will fall outside that scope, so.
So
We need to move.
here's a question. What if they say they come up with a different rate and ours is lower? I mean, if the state finally wakes up and wants to share some information on how to, I mean, they're telling you where to go, but they're not giving you any guidance of where to go and giving you any information to help the counties or the people to use it.
I'm going with it based upon my experience over the past 5 to 6 years in doing this, in what was available, what has transpired, and trying to say that basing a pilot based upon electric generated, how do we equate that to valuation? And by being able to swap those things to get this whole pilot payment amount that we're asking for at a valuation, I think I've put the numbers behind it that I'm valid at 8,000. It's irregardless of what the state is now saying it has to be valued at. So the 8,000 would be to give you, let's use simple math here. If it was a 1 megawatt facility, we were valuing those at $1.2 million in this county. Okay, the state is now saying that 1 megawatt facility is worth about $560,000 in year one of a 25-year model that's a discounted cash flow model. So that value is going to go down year after year after year. So we've been able to say, and I've been able to back the numbers in to get us to stay at that $1.2 million valuation, which is what we as a body here pretty much agreed to say. That's what we were negotiating our pilots for, and now tied it to that full valuation. Where this kind of falls apart is in years 16 through 25. Depending on what the state, they can adjust this model on a year, the way the law was written, they can adjust it on a yearly basis. They have to adjust their discount
They
rate.
can reassess it. More or less what
They can basically come up, but there's enough, I can say that there's enough people around this state that are very upset with the state and what this has happened with this model. And not that we're disagreeing with, it came about because everybody around the state said, we want some consistency. We're not getting any support in valuing these things. It was then on the 2030 and 2050 climate change initiatives that they kind of, the industry backdoored into this discounted cash flow.
So is NYSERDA going to do discount other power producing?
Well, it's not NYSERDA. This was the state legislature through New York State Department of Tax and Finance that created the model. They used NYSERDA as a consultant.
So NYSERDA had influence.
And this discounted cash flow model is only for solar and wind.
Only for solar and wind
Currently. There is talk they may roll in battery storage. You know, they may roll in.
Only for clean energy.
That's their goal. It's all part about meeting
What about
the
nuclear?
climate goals. Why we're shutting them down, we're in. Yeah, they're closing. So
Shutting them down.
300 to 1 return, that's too.
I'm just trying to protect the interest that we've developed over the last 5 years in this county with solar projects. Still keep an open mind to renewable energy sources and be fair to the taxpayers of Greene County as to where we were and not lose that.
Right, that's a better balance for the county,
To be where,
to have our own law that says,
absolutely,
here's where we're at.
my opinion.
Just to add to what Mike was talking about, maybe solars would find that an obstacle or a detriment to coming here. If it's a local law, that's what it is. If they're not up to it, they could take it.
Yeah, I would say this may discourage some renewable developers, but on the other hand, in looking at what it's costing them to build this, they can afford it.
So do you need a motion for that
Why didn't we ask for 9?
tonight?
Why are we 8750?
So
We're just trying to be consistent with what we've negotiated for our other ones and kind of put out there for the ones that we're in negotiations with as our requirements.
Yeah, there was more of a mathematical agreement on the 8 to 8750 based on the value of the
It was based upon
output.
the additional 750 is to make up for the 22,500 we were getting for up till now, all 4 that we've signed there's been a side agreement, community host agreement with the school districts for a STEM grant.
A lump sum.
And in a lump sum of them. Yeah. So by getting this 750 up front, it works perfectly for a 2 megawatt facility. But what we're seeing is facilities now coming in at 1.7, 1.6. I got one at 2.3.
Can we put a local law in that says you have to build 2 or more if you're gonna go? So that way you know you're, well, I mean, they're coming in saying 1.7 and
I think it'd
trying
be
to.
arbitrary at that point.
Right. I think there's some local jurisdictions, our towns, municipalities that are handling. I know, for example, Catskill is now putting, they have a law or something they're putting on the books that the solar facility can take no more than 25% of the land mass that it's being put on.
That's a zoning issue.
Right. So I'm trying to stay out of that zoning
Yeah, that's where.
planning
Should be.
issue. Yeah, I'm trying to stay completely on the tax dollar side of this.
I get what you're saying, right? But another question in my head is, who's the calibrator? What says they build one that's 2 and they just come and tell us it's 1.68? How do we check them?
We have, in our pilot agreements, we changed language in them from day 1, where we have right of review in year 8 and year 15 on our dime, or the 3 municipalities' dime, to see all their financials. And if they do not pay us more than 3% of their income generated from the facility, they have to pay a true payment. In
if they increase their production, the pilot would.
pilot is prorated.
amount.
We took language out on the converse of that.
Like say they
decrease.
overproduce for 5 years and then year 8, we look at it, you're gonna get back pay for those 5 years that they.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in fact, I think you have an escalator as well in there. 2%.
We have a 2% escalator.
True up. But the county feel that we had with Kosaki, we have the same true up concept. And it doesn't produce what they said it was gonna produce. We still get the.
Not really union, but like a binding.
So what if they don't
arbitration.
want to pay the taxes? What happens then?
What do you mean pay the taxes?
The price per.
After they sign on an annual
Yeah.
basis?
What happens?
They violate the agreement. Breach.
If we've negotiated.
Are we gonna then own solar fields? The county?
Got one.
No, we
Why
just
not?
discontinued the pilot.
Yeah.
They're on the hook.
Then we'll own solar.
Then we'll own solar.
3 years later, we'll own solar. We're gonna own them eventually anyways.
Right,
Down-
we'll have to
down
get rid
the
of
road,
all
the market.
those
At some
nasty
point, the
solar
functional
panels.
obsolescence will
Yeah.
outweigh the whole math. Not gonna go
That's
all the way.
great.
The big change with the meter stack that happened was they were receiving their market transition credits, their incentives. They were receiving them over the life of the project. At a rate, at a cents per, we have one that's getting 0.0599 cents per kilowatt hour produced for the life of the project. Nowadays, that new incentives are called a market transition adder, or a community adder, excuse me. And that community adder is paid out in the first 3 years. So it's paid out 50% in year one, 25% in year two, and 25% in year three. And then their dollar incentive has gone away. That's part of what they've argued. They've argued that we've now received our money up front. Well, that's no different than you had $50 and I spent $49 and I only kept $1. So we're sorry. Let's look at that over the life of the project, and you're still receiving the same dollar incentive. So don't give me that. That's basically what I told.
And is it to the town or the counties where they have to have, use the wrong terminology, but like an escrow to whatever municipality they get put in?
That's
To where a percentage goes, so when these things turn into Pop-Tarts, we don't have brownfields and we're sitting there decommissioning these things and spending millions of dollars to clean them up.
That's
That's really
all
a
at the
place
town,
also,
so.
like when we did our solar law in the town of Hunter, there's part of that is you have to have the money set aside for decommissioning the whole project. So if it goes belly up at any time, you're not on the hook to get rid of it. It's all right in the laws. Most of it.
Well, yeah, depends on what town.
Right, but most of the towns do
Most of
that.
But that's not what this is.
No, this has nothing, that's what I said. I'm trying to separate. We're just talking about payments in lieu of taxes.
For what they produce.
Well, now I'm saying it's based on valuation instead of what you produce.
If they produce less, they still pay.
They still pay. We took that language, so we made sure of that too. You can't say you're gonna, in good faith, negotiate with us a 2 megawatt facility and build a 1.5. And say, I want to prorate backwards on my thing. No, sorry, that doesn't work. We negotiate in good faith. You were building a 2 megawatt facility, you're paying us based upon 2 megawatts.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you,
Wow.
Yeah, Ray, let's hang on, Ray. So in order for us to go forward, even though this is a presentation item and not a specific agenda item, the process that we would go through would be to call for a special hearing. So did we check a calendar at all on dates? Or I can come back Wednesday night and give you the proper dates to call for a public hearing. We have postings in the paper we gotta do.
Can we just pay it to Wednesday and just put it in a roll call vote and bypass?
I can add it to Wednesday's agenda. You know, give you the dates that we want to have the hearing, at the time, the place, all that kind of stuff.
Set it up for the public hearing in May.
Yes. We have to get 30-day notice for a public hearing, so I'd be worried about late May in terms of holiday and that kind of stuff.
And like I said, we don't have anybody on notice that we're going to be. So we do have a couple that we're in negotiation that this law won't affect, or we're kind of at a whim, but we're gonna stress to them that we're putting a local law on, so fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already, Ed and I have already, there's the final copy, but just to give you an idea of what it took for us to get from the nice service law, as you can see all the red in this and blue. So, you know, it took us quite a bit to get to where we feel very comfortable. So Wednesday?
Yeah, we'll meet tomorrow. The ability for added to the agenda.
Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome.
Okay, on to the action items. Number 1, amending resolution number 279-11, adoption of the Greene County Administrative Manual.
Overbought.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yeah. Didn't we just do something for like the Meals on Wheels where they get a set rate?
That's mileage, that's mileage reimbursement to the volunteer.
Yeah, this is
Employees going to a conference.
Are they using our vehicle or their?
Oh, no,
No,
this is meal.
meal reimbursement.
That's the-
and paychecks under the lag support.
Basically, heard that.
We chase receipts now for weeks, and then I lost it, or my dog ate it, or. So this gets rid of the nuance of having a receipt.
Set rate.
But we set a rate. You wanna go to McDonald's 3 times a day, have at it, keep $6, have at it.
I don't know how much McDonald's costs now.
Yeah, really.
$5 meals.
All right,
$17 an hour, I get you.
Happy
are
meal.
we set? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Passed. Okay, number 2, reappointing member, Civil Service Commission.
Lennon, Martin, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Number 3, authorizing the sale of in-rem property.
Greg, I just have a question for that.
I have Len, who's the second?
Martinez.
Thank you.
Greg, on this parcel, what's the parcel's importance to the village?
I don't remember, I looked at it the other day.
You want me to address it? Originally, when we entered into the contract, before we owned the property, the village just wanted the property for one of whatever undisclosed uses. The property does have a major environmental issue related to it, which is why we haven't taken it before. We sold it for good value to the village. We just recently taken title to it. We paid it.
This avoids, this is a very good thing. This is a very.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Number 4, authorizing service of notice of violation to the Executive Committee of the Watershed Protection Partnership Council pursuant to paragraph 177 of the MOA.
Like,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Number 5, resolution to submit comments on the New York State Climate Council's draft scoping plan for New York's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, also known as the Climate Act. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
This could go on for a long time. A long
It's
time.
almost 7:30.
So everybody sees their bills, right? Their electric bills,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
right? We're paying for this right
Yeah.
here. So New York City can get power down to them because they want to shut a nuclear power plant down. We, the ratepayers, are paying them to have this happen.
Well,
And we're supposed to be okay with that.
This stands
We're not.
against that.
that's what this is saying.
goes against it.
New York State has the plan
Right.
where they will to all the power that we get by 2040 will all be wind, solar, hydro,
Right.
no fossil fuels,
Right.
and all the anticipated.
Right.
Additional numbers.
So are our local residents allowed to put comments in on this whole proposed climate bill or whatever?
That bill already passed.
So it's already passed, so it's already gonna happen.
Right.
Oh, this is, yeah.
This is already happening.
This is already
If
happened.
you read this resolution, it's showing that Greene County is publicly stating we are opposed to this.
Okay, so Greene County is opposed to it. So at the state level, who are our representatives and how did they vote on this?
Well, you know how Michelle Henchy voted on this.
So she voted for this,
Yes, and Chris Tagg voted
against that.
So the
That's
Climate
just great.
Control Act is law,
Yeah,
but as part of that, a Climate Action Council
She
was appointed by the state. The council has been meeting to develop regulations that would be put in place. And the comment window is still open for the state to take comment on the regulations that would become law.
And that's the 26-page document that will be attached to this resolution. Those are our comments, our scope.
How about the electricity rationing under this? Your community doesn't behave, so get enough power.
So wait a second. So all our ratepayers, and this goes back to what we were discussing with April, with the Champlain Power, big extension cord going out. So we're going to get some tax money on the property tax side, right? Well, all our ratepayers in our county are gonna fund it. How's that a benefit? Why would we ever agree to that on your end?
Like I just said, if the power line's gonna go through, I guess I'll take the property tax when I can get it. If I don't get it.
Yeah, it's going through with.
That's like digging the hole you're gonna bury yourself in. That's what it is.
I'm gonna dig it deep too.
Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Anybody opposed? Passed. Does anybody else have anything to bring up before government operations?
Motion to close.
Second.
Closed.
Okay, we'll call Finance Committee meeting, Finance Committee. To order. Moving along. Several agenda items. If you keep them real quickly. You don't have the computer. I don't need it.
We're moving along.
I got this. Paper trail. First, authorization to submit application to state and municipal facilities capital program, SAM, and a comment of Greene County funds for the Ohate Preserve Infrastructure Improvement Project.
Lennon.
Hobart, second, also second.
Yeah, I got a little comment early on that one. After hearing our good senator now was the sponsor of this climate agreement, and she's going to be the one responsible for getting this application money, this grant money from the state, which in my opinion is just state taxpayer grant money, not her money. I voted for it in before in the discussion at County Resources. But I just want you to know, I am now a no. I don't want her name on anything here.
Agree with that. Gotta move it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Thank you. Thanks for the comments. Number two, authorizing agreement and grant application for Big Valley Trailblazers Snowmobile Club Snowmobile Trail Development and Maintenance 22-23. Harry?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Thought so.
Buellage.
You seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Three, authorizing subscription renewal. I am responding. Hobart.
Overbaugh.
Overall, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Four, authorize agreement, Greene County with Valesky and Company for cost allocation plan and indirect cost proposals.
Vera? Lennon. Lennon.
Lennon, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Five, awarding fuel oil bids. Overall, Mr. Buick, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. Six, authorizing architectural and engineering design services for construction of a justice center addition to the Greene County Courthouse.
Lavera.
Overbaugh.
Overall, Lennon, I'll second it also. Any other questions or?
Aye.
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 Guess we're The ayes have it. Number 7, authorizing the county highway and solid waste superintendent apply for funding from the Cascade Watershed Corporation Flood Hazard Mitigation Implementation Program. Omar, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 8, accepting proposal for engineering services for the replacement of the county Route 1 culvert over Brown Kill Creek, town of Alton. Leg, Rivera seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 9, authorizing the highway department enter into an agreement with Martin Judas DPC for engineering design services for the replacement of County Route 40 Maple Crest Road Bridge over to Batavia Kill, pin number 3-30286-0, town of Wyndham, pin number 1761.92. Buick. Hobart second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. We can take care of the mountain. Number 10, authorizing the highway department enter into an agreement with Creighton Manning Engineering LLP for construction and inspection services for the county Route 22 bridge over to Casco Creek. Pin number 3-30312-0 element Pacific Bridge Replacement Project, town of Durham, pin number 1760.89. I know you want that, Patty, but you're not on this. committee. You want that.
I'll take it.
Got it, Mr. Davis?
Lennon Davis.
Leonard Davis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 11 is authorizing the highway department enter into an agreement with Creighton Manning Engineering LLP for replacement of County Route 61 River Road Bridge over to Kosaki Creek, pin number 3-3029110-0, town of Baltimore, pin number 1761.91. The chairman and Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 12, authorizing the county highway and solid waste superintendent award to rehabilitation County Route 22 bridge over to Casco Creek, pin number 3-30312-0, town of Durham, pin number 1760.89.
Lennon.
Leonard, Mr. Davis seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 13, establish capital project number 126, Casco Recycling Center.
Overbaugh.
Overball,
Bueller.
Bueller seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 14, awarding an electrical contractor for the Casco Recycling Center construction project.
Overbaugh.
Overball and Bueller, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 15, authorizing general contractor for the Casco Recycling Center construction project. The same two. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 16, authorizing expansion of services, Jensen Construction Group, Kosaki Transfer Station Reconstruction, Martinez, Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that's carried. 17, awarding bid, authorizing contract for the operation of a household hazardous waste collection event.
Lennon. Rivera.
Mr. Rivera seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 18, increasing mileage reimbursement, Department of Human Services, Aging, Home Delivered Meals Program, and Medical Transportation Volunteers Program.
Rivera.
Martin, Rivera, Bueller. How's that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Did you get that, Linda?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Number 19, authorized agreement between the Greene County Community Service Board and the Hudson Valley National Center for Veterans Reintegration, Inc., and budget amendment.
Hobart.
Oh,
I take it.
Harry?
Yeah.
Lennon. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 20, authorized agreement with the Greene County Community Service Board and Prime Care Medical of New York, Inc., and budget amendment.
Davis.
Overbaugh.
Davis, Overball seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 21, authorized agreement, Greene County Family Planning and Twin County Recovery Services, Inc., mobile van. Martinez,
Overbaugh.
Ms. Overball, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 22, authorized agreement, Greene County Public Health Department, Joshua Rosenfield, MD. Martinez,
Overbaugh.
Ms. Hobart seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 23, approving related service provider contract preschool special education program. Davis, Mr. Hobart, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 24, reappointing member of Civil Service Commission.
Lennon.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 25, appointing Greene County Coroner, Edward Brandt.
Lennon.
Mr. Lennon, Rivera seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 26, authorize the sale of in-rem properties. I'll take that. Who wants a second?
Here. They're all.
Oh, Darrell,
Speak up.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Budget amendment 27, human service transportation. Martinez, Mr. Hobart, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 28, 2022 budget amendment, Greene County Highway Insurance Recovery. Martinez. Hobart, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 29, authorization pay claims highway. I'm taking that. Who'd like the second? Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 30, authorization pay claims. I'll take that. Who'd like the second? Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Anything else come before smite in?
Motion to adjourn.
Our treasurer.
Oh, we got a peer report.
We gotta correct that.
Yeah.
Just gotta pay my salary.
Take it into your-
I have the week off.
Oh, that's a week off. Listen to this. On vacation.
Changing
How many days?
payments, back to all in the wrong place, but that's probably because of the fact we're getting close to foreclosure time. In fact, we are preparing right now the notices of foreclosure. I will tell you that it has been difficult. We ran out of toner. People who are going to be sell us toner told us there's a supply issue, so we can't get toner. So we hook up with IT and they let us use their printer and then they run out of toner. So now we're scrambling around, hooking up onto our own machines. We finally got all the letters printed. We're now folding them. We have 2 people in here on Saturday and Sunday, Easter weekend, printing letters. Folding them, we'll put them in the envelopes, we need to mail them out Thursday.
How many letters?
If any, how many letters?
Yeah, how many letters?
2,300.
Oh, 2,300?
Working 2 years here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when this notice of foreclosure goes out?
Oh, wow.
There's a line. Okay? Everybody starts showing up and paying. Okay? So that when we finally end up at auction time, it's less than 150 properties. And people out there who owe $20,000 and $25,000.
Shoot.
I'm
Good
looking
for us.
forward to seeing their checks.
Harry needs the money, so forth.
So the last item's on there, sales tax, obviously. That's staying ahead of the game here. Collection status is where it's supposed to be. So we're in pretty good shape. I'm a little antsy about this notice of foreclosure, but we'll get there. Whatever we have to do, we'll do. Any questions? Excellent. I can go home.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Peter.
Peter.
Anything else coming before finance?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it. We're closed. Thank you very much.
Hey, Tommy,
Yes, sir.
sign this. What's that for now? Children's fishing tournament.